And we're back here at the Gather Hour, and we are excited to introduce you to our guests today. We have with us Jared and Leslie Patterson. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Welcome to the Gather Hour. You, of course, know my friend Ashley here.
Yeah, I have a question for you, Jared. So
Absolutely.
when we're introducing you, it's the longest title ever in the history of man. So, could you just give all of our listeners your title?
Absolutely. So right now it's Republican nominee for state representative in House District 106.
Oh my gosh,
I know
that's
it's a mouthful.
I was
long.
close.
It's a
Yeah.
mouthful.
I was
So,
wrong.
so explain, what does that mean?
So it means that through the political process, we've been through the primary season in March. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party has their primaries. Those elections were March 6th. Both parties have their nominees to face off in the general election. So it's just a process to go through and pare down the candidates to one per party, and then we face off in November.
That's crazy. And how many are you facing off against?
So I have one Democratic opponent in November. Quite honestly, I haven't looked to see if there's a Libertarian candidate or not, but I do have the one.
That's our mystery guest of the day.
Yeah.
Come
Yes,
on in, Libertarian
come
candidate.
on in.
Surprise!
That's
No,
right.
I'm just kidding.
That's right.
So, Jared, where are you from? Where were you born?
I grew up in Whitesboro, Texas, Grayson County, about 45 minutes north of here.
Okay.
And I grew up in sports playing Frisco back when they had one high school.
Did you lose on purpose to let
Man.
Frisco win?
Well, let me tell you a very quick story. We had the longest drought in the state of Texas from making the football playoffs. We'd never made the football playoffs. And one year we were playing Frisco at home on a Friday night, and some storms rolled through, and they had to call the game and come back the next morning on a Saturday. And we ended in a tie, and the stands cleared because it was the first time in several years that we didn't lose. So I mean that's
Right.
That's kind of
So
the
you
the
tied.
history there from
So
the
you're
And
football.
so that was a
saying
win.
there's
And
a
the stands
chance.
cleared.
Congratulations
Yeah.
That
on
was
that.
great. So they're a lot better now. They've made the playoffs and all that. But
And
when
what
I
high
was
school
there-
was that?
Whitesboro High School.
Whitesboro High School.
Whitesboro High
We
School.
tied.
That's right.
That's
right.
good. You
One
know what?
year.
You take the win where you can.
That's right.
good.
I
It was a
like
moral
it.
victory.
So you
Yeah.
grew up in Whitesboro.
Yes, sir.
Do you still have family there, or
Absolutely. All my family's still up in Whitesboro.
Oh, cool.
My grandparents, my parents, my brother, and
siblings?
everybody.
So you have a brother.
Yes, sir.
Very nice.
Yes, sir.
And where did you head after Whitesboro?
So I went to Grayson County College for a year, stayed home, and went there for a year, and then I went to Texas A&M for 3 years, fighting Texas Aggie class of 05, and that's where.
Welcome to the SEC.
Thank you. I know,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it's awesome. And
You know, everybody went to this A&M. I've never been to College Station. Mackenzie, our lead coordinator, went to A&M. We meet people all day. Everybody went to A&M. I'm like, how big is this?
Yeah.
place?
I know.
It is huge.
Unbelievable. In
Absolutely.
this area, there's a lot of Aggies in this area.
There's a lot of
So
Aggies.
congratulations on that.
Thank
You're in a
you.
good area for that.
Lots of friends here, and that's actually where I met Leslie. Was,
Okay.
right at the tail end of our time there, April of our senior year, is where we met.
So we have Miss Leslie sitting next to you, to your left. Hi, Leslie. Where are you from? Where did you grow up?
So I'm from Rowlett. Have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I've heard of Rowlett.
Yeah.
what's funny
Absolutely.
is I've lived here for 14 years, and there's like it's like as many towns as there are people from A&M. Like
Yeah.
I don't know
There
where
really
anything
are.
is.
It's a suburb
I gotta be honest
of
with you.
Dallas.
Okay. Which
So-
direction?
Is it Fort Worth-ish? No, the
No.
opposite
See,
side.
Ashley, you don't know either.
I've heard of Rowlett. I don't know
Oh,
where
you've
it
heard
is.
of it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm from Louisiana. We don't know
Oh,
geography.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's,
Ashley, there's $1 million in a bag on the corner in Rowlett. You have
Go
to
get
get
it.
there. Can you get
Ooh,
there?
What bayou is it close to? Speak my language. If you, yeah.
by a lake.
It's by a lake.
There you go.
Okay.
Fair.
So
Rowlett.
my parents still live there.
Okay.
They've been married for 40 years. We grew up there, and
That's-
my sisters. I have two sisters, and they live in Rockwall, which is just over the bridge.
Ooh,
Got
one of my
it.
favorite clothing boutiques is there. You're speaking my language
Yeah.
now.
So
Okay.
Rowlett's near Rockwall.
It is.
That I know.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. So that's where you grew up.
I grew up there, yes.
And then you yourself went to
And
A&M
then I
as
went
well?
to A&M for 4 years, and I got a teaching degree.
Okay.
Nice.
We have a teacher.
Not anymore.
Well, but we have a teacher
we-
by
yes.
training and by
That's
degree,
right.
right?
And then I came back to this area and did my student teaching and stuff, and I've been here my whole life.
That's
and
awesome.
I did teach for 6 years.
Cool. Now, how did you guys meet?
We met our senior year in 2005. The long story is I was a senior. I was so done, like done.
Senioritis.
And my sister was like, I'm going to my friend's house. Do you want to come? Sure, Katie. Younger sister, so younger people.
And she was
whatever.
at A&M with
A&M,
you.
we lived
Mhm.
together. And so we went over there, and I just made her happy, went with her, and I'd been there a while playing and having fun and stuff, and Jared walked in from like being gone, and I was like, oh, who's that? Oh, we don't talk to him. Like, he's a neat freak. I'm like, I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, I would like a neat.
Did anybody say,
Freak.
hey, that's the hero from the tie back in Whitesboro?
Yeah,
No?
I know that guy.
No,
He
That
types
didn't
so
follow
high.
him? Oh, okay.
No.
He must have seen me at the table or whatever, because he emerged from his room, and they said he never comes out, and like he never talks to us, but like he spent the evening with us.
All of a
and
sudden
so
he was there. He
all
found
of
a reason to
sudden
be
he
there.
was friends with them.
I wonder
So-
what it was.
Yeah.
So, Jared, what was it? Were they playing
Yeah.
Monopoly or something
Yeah,
you were
it was
into?
a
or-
neat board game they had out
Okay.
on the table. So my roommates were awesome guys, but they were a lot younger, and they were still in the college mode. And I was serving as vice president of the senior class at A&M. I was on the executive board of my fraternity, and I was doing all these things. So I really wasn't home that often. And kind of like Leslie, I was pretty much done. I was ready to kind of
Ready to
get
go.
on to the next phase of my life. And then I walked in through the front door, and my bedroom was right there by the front door. And I walked in, and I was like, what's going on over here? And so I went in, put my bags down, whatever, and then came out. And we hung out the rest of the evening.
That's
And,
cool.
so it was pretty
Life
And
is
then
never
from
the
there-
same.
there-
That's
it
right.
is.
That's right.
So how long was it before you guys got engaged then? What did that look like?
Do you want me to take that?
Yeah.
Take it, Leslie.
We actually just dated for a little bit in college. I mean, it was literally the end of our senior years, and we just kind of went our separate ways. Well, I came back here to this area. Well, he had moved to Houston for a little bit. Well, he came back and emailed me. Well,
That was before. I wasn't on Facebook at the
Yeah,
time.
that's
Right.
and he was
fair.
all,
That didn't exist yet,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
Pretty much.
I'm back living in Dallas, just wanted to see if you wanted to show me around. Sure, Jared.
Oh, he needed a tour guide.
Yeah,
That makes
I
sense.
just, I wanted.
Whatever.
It was a safety thing. I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure I was in the right spot.
I understand that.
Whatever. And
Yeah.
funny story is, like, I knew he wanted to be in politics, like, from the first day that I met him.
Okay.
And once we started dating again, I said, you wanted to date me again just to make sure that I would vote for you one day, didn't you? And this was like,
That's awesome.
I mean, not running or anything, so he
You
was
just
like,
knew.
yeah, I guess. So we started dating again, and then we've been together
Tell me about
ever
where we got
since.
engaged.
We did get engaged under the century tree at A&M. It's like a little tradition that Aggies
That's cool.
do. It's this beautiful tree that the branches like swoop down to the ground and like
That's cool.
Have you been to College
Form
Station
this-
before?
I haven't on
thing.
purpose. So I'm LSU, so we didn't like
Yeah.
A&M
But
until
what if
they
we go
recently
do-
joined our conference. And I'm also a Tar Heels fan, so I'm very bitter about
Yeah.
A&M right now.
Yeah,
so we'll just
yeah.
leave it at that.
Mm.
March
Yeah.
Madness was
Their
a little
basketball team
rough.
tore it up this year.
Yeah.
Kind of. They
Kinda
only made it
surprising.
one round
Well, when
past,
I
and
say
then they
tore
got
it up,
demolished.
they
Which I'm
tore
like,
up-
what does that say for the Tar Heels? But
They
what
tore
do-
up
what
the
do you
Tar
do?
Heels is kind of what
That
I
was the
meant.
main
I
point.
appreciate
My
that
bad.
reminder. But I've not been to.
How did Duke do?
to-
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. My husband's Duke.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Duke lost as well. That's
Like
all that
to
really
rub that.
matters. Yes.
Nice.
But that's so cool that it happened at A&M.
It
and
did.
It was,
I'd like to visit there.
Yeah,
I
no,
would.
same.
it's
yeah.
it's a
That's neat.
beautiful
Maybe we'll
campus.
do a gather hour remote from College Station.
Would you be
I
our
like
tour
it.
guide and you don't have
We'll
to
do
vote
it.
for us
I don't
for
have to vote for
anything
you?
at
Okay.
all,
Yeah, we're
at
both
all.
already married,
Yes.
and we're not running for anything.
Yes.
So
Yes, we
So
would
that's
love a tour.
perfect.
I'll even wear maroon.
Oh,
Maroon?
perfect.
You will?
Or if I have to.
Kind of have
Wow.
to. I think it's a
That's-
state law.
SEC, whatever. We love each other now, so
Now,
we'll
do you
make
know
it work.
Johnny Manziel? That's
Oh, yeah.
also-
He,
Johnny football.
yeah, he was a big deal when we were there.
I tell you, well, he played after
Right.
we left, but I'll tell you the neat thing about Johnny football is, and he's got his own issues, but
We all do.
Even
It's all right.
my grandmother started watching college football because of how exciting of a player he
Yeah,
was.
that's cool.
Yes.
I mean, it was so exciting for us who, as Aggies, don't have the best tradition of winning in football. We got a lot of great traditions,
Right.
and winning hasn't necessarily been a part of that. And but to have him, it kind of gave everybody a little bit of swagger to walk
Yeah.
around with. And
It was the
and get to do that.
RG3 effect on Baylor. Same
Absolutely.
thing, right? I mean, whatever
Absolutely.
it's kind of like church in my mind. Like whatever gets you there, you're not going to leave without getting something out
That's
of it.
right.
So he was a good foundation.
That's
for them.
right.
The
Agreed.
power of sports that way is really cool to behold too. When you see a community and people that don't, they're not regular fans, but when there's a winner, when the Mavericks won the championship in 2011,
Oh yeah.
to watch the city and the excitement of that. And then you have the Cubs over here, the Ashley and her group, but and you watch, and like my mom lives in Chicago right now, and she's not from there, but she was living there and she still lives there. and all of a sudden she's a huge Cubs fan, and it's just really exciting. It's really cool to see the power of
Yeah.
how sports
Gotta
can-
love
Absolutely.
bandwagon.
especially winners. It's
Yeah.
all about
Agreed.
winning.
Yeah.
So now, let's say you mentioned that you saw Jared had an interest in political career or politics in general early on.
Mm-hmm.
So Jared, what spurred that in you? What was that?
I think it was a love of history. I'm a big history buff. I love history, Revolutionary War history, the founding of our nation, our founding fathers. So I've always been interested in that. And then when I was a kid, my dad ran for school board, and he served on the school board for 3 terms back home in Whitesboro. And so I got to see what you could accomplish by being involved in your community, by working hard and getting elected and being part of positive change in a community. And in fact, when I turned 18, the very first person I ever got to vote for was my dad. And so,
How cool is that?
yeah, it was really, really neat. And then, you fast forward, I'm 35. And so my freshman year of college was 9/11. And, I think like a lot of people, I had conversations with my family about dropping out of college, joining the military,
Right.
doing different things. And that didn't happen. But, obviously at such a transitional time in my life to have that happen as a freshman in college really set me on a path to say I really want to find some way to plug in and serve my community. It's more about, the public service end of it
Yeah.
than the political end of
No,
it.
that's awesome. So you got engaged under the tree. You obviously said yes.
Yes.
And got married, and now you have some children.
We have
Yes.
lots of children.
That's the
tell us-
question
So
around.
many
How
children.
many kids do you have?
Uh-oh.
We have a 7-year-old.
Okay.
He's in first grade at Vaughn Elementary. We have a almost 5-year-old boy named Austin, and Reagan is our first grader. And then we have our little precious daughter that runs the house, and her name is McKinley, and she's 3.
McKinley is the baby
I
in
love
the group.
it.
Now that's
is.
2 Republican presidents and the father
yes.
of Texas. If you haven't kept track
Yeah,
of those
yeah.
names.
Love it.
My brother named their first child Reagan for
Yeah.
that reason as well. Yeah, they were,
That's cool.
and then and Teddy is the
Nice.
Theodore is the
We-
newest one for them.
We
their
had a
son.
cat named Jackson, too.
They
Yeah.
call him Bear.
Yeah.
I'm naming my next kid Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton.
No.
And or Monica Lewinsky. I haven't figured out which one.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I know.
I don't really know what to think about that
Escalated
actually, but if you say so.
Just keeping you guys
I was
humble.
gonna say Linda Tripp. No,
Or
I'm just
not.
kidding. That name just popped into my head. I don't even know who that is. So you're silly,
Yeah,
Bill. Okay.
I'm trying.
Well, I really don't know what to do with that over here.
So I have a question.
She's
so
new. She's a new
She's new.
sidekick. I'm just kidding.
all the kids,
Mhm.
what is that like? Like what your work-life balance? I'm just interested to hear from both of your perspectives.
We're
What's
we're
that
parents of one, right? I
Yes.
have one
Right.
daughter. She has one daughter with
Right.
Justin,
So,
Yeah.
me with Christy. So
So, like I said, I taught for 6 years. I quit teaching when our oldest was about 18 months because it just made sense
Yeah.
to us because we knew we would have more kids and the cost of daycare compared to a teacher salary, just wasn't gonna. It just didn't make sense
Sure.
for us. And
Jared, we need you to fix both of those. Thank
I
you.
know.
I know, right? That's on the agenda.
Yes.
Fortunately, Jared does have a great job and is successful and allows me that opportunity to stay home
Yes.
with our children because Jared is very busy. Jared has, Jared's got his real job
right,
and Jared's got his passion
it's public service.
job that he, does. And so I'm home with the kids and, I just kind of take on that responsibility so he can take care of his family and take care of the community. at the
That's
same time.
awesome. It's a blessing to be able to have that opportunity
Mhm.
and that you
Yes.
guys are able to
The woman's a
navigate
saint.
that. Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, you do get kind of like instant angel wings for being a teacher in our book. That's
Mhm.
automatic. So
Yes.
you check that box.
Okay.
And now being able to spend that time with your kids is awesome. So
Yeah.
Jared, what is your full-time gig as far as career?
That's a good question. So I work for a company called Rapid Power Management. We're an energy management firm based out of Carrollton, Texas. And we work with primarily manufacturers, but any large energy consumer, and help them reduce their energy costs. And so that takes on many different forms. But we work primarily in the deregulated electricity market. So here in Frisco, some folks in Frisco are in the Encore service territory, meaning they can choose their electric provider.
Yes.
And then some people in Frisco are in CoServe, which
Right.
is a regulated which is a regulated co-op, and you don't have a choice on who you choose. So in the deregulated areas like in Encore and other areas throughout the country, we partner with folks help them make that decision on who to go with and when and why and everything that goes into it. It's kind of like being a stockbroker to a certain degree because you're locking in a commodity.
Yes.
Making a buying decision on a commodity. But then we also do some energy efficiency projects as well to help them. So we're looking at reducing their paying for power or natural gas, and then we're looking at helping them reduce their energy consumption as well.
So the customers are residents or businesses, or are
Generally-
they bigger?
Generally industrial customers,
Industrial,
some manufacturers, but we also have some large commercial building owners that are clients of
Okay.
ours as well. We've also done business with Target and Walmart,
it's bigger
and school
bulk
districts, and anybody that's a
solutions.
large power consumer.
Yes.
We don't get into the residential or small
Got
commercial
it.
market. Yes,
That
sir.
makes sense. That's cool.
Yeah, well, the more money we save them, the more money they can invest back in
That's
their
right.
company, hiring people, buying equipment, something of that nature.
Or
So
maybe make a profit. Hey,
Absolutely.
nothing wrong with
Nothing
having a
wrong
little
with
cash
that.
in your pocket, right?
That's right. Yes,
That's
sir.
awesome.
That's very cool. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial, and then we're going to come back to the Gather Hour with Jared and Leslie Patterson. We'll be right back after these words. We're back with Jared and Leslie Patterson. I'm Jason. I'm here with Ashley. And so, Jared, how did your public service start? What was the first thing that you ran for?
Sure. So I'd found a home in Saxe even before we were engaged. Northeast Dallas County. It's right next door to Rowlett, which you heard about earlier.
Yes, I was going to
Another
say.
one of those
Oh,
places.
great. Saxe.
Yeah,
Is it
I know.
near?
What
Spiral.
bayou
Yeah.
is that by?
I know, right? Exactly. And so I'd found a home out there that I could afford on, one income.
Uh-huh.
And shortly after that, I asked Leslie to marry me, and then we got married in December of 2007, so just over 10 years ago. And then Leslie moved in, and so we started our life, there in Saxe. And so one day I just started going up to city council meetings just to see kind of what was going on and how that worked and all that. Ended up on a planning and zoning commission seat, and then shortly thereafter was asked to run for city council. Won a runoff election, my first election for city council in 2009.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was awesome. Turned 26.
This
during that
time you
election.
didn't tie.
That's
The
what I was
last
gonna
the last
say.
big
Yeah.
thing was in
Not
high
tie.
school was a tie.
That's
Now
right,
you won.
that's right, yeah.
Taste of victory.
You're
That's
like
right.
the Doogie Howser of politics. That's
Yeah.
insane.
What's pretty
Yeah.
neat is
Hauser.
I think there was a point in time where I was the youngest elected official in Dallas County. And
That's
my,
cool.
my brother was the youngest battalion chief in Dallas County. He's a battalion chief of Madison Fire Department.
Oh,
So,
cool.
How cool.
kind of a neat deal. But so I served there for 2 terms. Actually resigned in 2013 to run for state representative in Dallas County against an incumbent, a 3-term incumbent. And we lost that race by about 600 votes.
Okay.
And during that race, we got pregnant with our 3rd child, McKinley. And that's whenever we
Surprise.
yeah, that's when we, decided that, this whole situation probably isn't going to work out here. We need to get to a better school district.
Okay.
Saxe's a wonderful community. It's part of Garland ISD School District. They've just got some unique challenges there. And so we decided to look at Frisco primarily because of the school district here and
cool.
everything that we'd heard about it and how
Yeah.
wonderful.
Lots of folks move here for the school district, which
Absolutely.
is great. They do a great job at we're actually our venue is with the National Breast Cancer Foundation. We're participating in their internship for the high school
Frisco
kids.
ISD summer internship program.
There it is. Ashley
Yeah.
was integral in that, so we're excited to have some of those students working for us as interns. I think we're going to have 3 of them at my venue. And
Verona
there's-
Villa, Carrington. We've got John
Jamba Juice.
National Breast Cancer Foundation, Launchpad City.
very cool. We
That's
love
awesome.
supporting these folks.
Absolutely.
So Jared, so you mentioned that you ran the first time, we didn't win the first time. What did you learn the most out of that?
Humility.
Wow.
Humility.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I did. I feel like I kind of got a little too big for my britches, as they say, and probably wasn't ready for that step
Yeah.
at the time. I loved being on city council. Everyone that I served with on city council was doing it for the right reasons. Everyone, even though we may disagree from time to time on certain things, we were all doing it from the standpoint of what is best for the city. And that was a wonderful experience getting to serve with folks like that. And certainly in the legislature, it's a little bit different. There's a lot of different reasons why people serve and may not always be aligned with what I'm used to in the past. And so I learned a lot about a lot of different things that go on. And I will tell you this is that, Austin appears to be the same swamp that they talk about, in terms of Washington, D.C. It just doesn't get the headlines. And so when we were talking about running again this time, it really wasn't something that we wanted to do. We had 3 young kids at the time. This was only a year ago.
Right.
We had 3 young kids, and we were trying to find somebody else to run because Pat Fallon had announced he was going to run for Texas Senate. and all roads kept leading back to me. And I don't think I would not have been prepared to do this the right way had I not run that time several years ago and learned the lessons and made the mistakes and learned what to do and what not to do.
Sometimes we need a no to lead us to the yes.
Absolutely.
You know, we went to Minnie's Pantry, I'm pointing at nothing. I'm sorry. I'm pointing at the Omni because that's where I was. But we went to everybody turned and looked. I'm sorry. I went to the Omni, had an event, or it was at the Omni for Minnie's Pantry, and Oprah was the keynote speaker.
Sure.
And you were sitting beside Oprah.
I was.
Wow.
It was this far away. It was
Wow.
pretty cool.
And Floyd Mayweather.
And Floyd Mayweather was there.
Not as impressive as Oprah.
No, but he had a bag of money.
Shocker.
He travels around with a big bag of money.
Yes.
It's kind of funny, but and it was there. He had the bag of money. He didn't give any of it away though. They tried to get him to. But anyway, and she was talking about, you know, the founder of that Minnie's Pantry kept trying to get her there for 10 years, and she kept telling her no.
Yeah.
No. And then in the 10th year, she said yes, and she said the reason I said yes is because now you're ready. I wanted to see how you were going to respond to the no. You know, she understands her platform, the power that she brings. If she shows up on day one, what is that person really learning and gaining and stuff like that? So sometimes I do believe we need to go through those struggles and not get our way maybe, or not, you know, have some adversity,
Absolutely.
You know, in that form, because it does form us and it does help prepare us for when it is our time.
Well, you bring up a good point. You know, my dad, his parents died when he was young, and he had no siblings, and he lived in what was essentially an orphanage for a couple of years, and then a great aunt took him in finally, and you know, worked his way up, worked for every dime he's ever had, and that was always apparent in our family unit. That story, knowing that story, understanding the sacrifice that it took and the hard work that it took. And the beauty that is America, and how if you work hard and you're nice to people, that you can make something of yourself here, unlike most any other country in the world. And so that story's always been there. But, you know, that is something that I worry about when you bring up the adversity and all that with our kids, is that now they're one generation removed from that story. And, you know, quite honestly, because the Lord has blessed us so much, our kids are growing up a lot differently than how we grew up.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I worry about. I know Leslie does as well. All the time is, how are our kids going to grow up? What perspective are they going to have? How are they going to stay humble? How are they going to realize that, you know, we live in Frisco, Texas, which is one of the greatest communities in the country, with some of the best opportunities to get involved in sports, and there's so many great restaurants here, and so many great museums and activities, and all this stuff going on here. Yet, you know, there are folks not that far away that don't have those same opportunities.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
right.
That's something that we really struggle with, how to teach that to our kids, and try to get our kids involved in some things to help them understand that we are very richly blessed here in Frisco, Texas.
That's probably my longest standing prayer, kind of what you just described, for my family and for our community, quite frankly. People get caught up in stuff, and I'm not going to say it's not important, because that's for someone else to decide whether it is or it isn't.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, you know, being able to have a future for our children, and for them to also have a servant heart, and to be able to have a sense of community and not be entitled and spoiled and whatever. We just executed an event. We partner with Frisco Fast Packs.
Oh yeah.
Familiar with
Oh
those
yeah.
folks?
Absolutely.
So we called it Kids Supporting Kids, and the whole heart of it was to bring families together, but it was centered on kids learning how to give back, and that there are needs, and that, you know what, like my daughter, when she sits down to eat, if you don't get the right peanut butter, she's gonna let you hear about it, right?
Or the right colored cup,
right?
the right colored
and
fork.
so sometimes you cringe, and sometimes you are like, okay, let me cut the crust off the bread for you, because it's your baby girl or your baby boy or whatever, and you want the best for them, and you should, and they should. But also you're like, okay, what am I creating here?
Right.
You know, and so I do think it takes intention, and I do think that if we have people that are raising their hands to serve on a bigger platform and be leaders, if they're approaching issues from that lens, it's just so much better off we're going to be.
Agreed.
Right.
Yes.
Instead of telling someone else they're wrong, or you know, or arguing about whatever. It's like, you know what, we all get up every day and we all want our kids to be safe.
That's
we all
right.
want them to be happy. We all want them to feel loved.
That's right.
How as a community can we lift each other up to accomplish that,
Absolutely.
right?
I,
And so
I
when
started something with my first grader. I told him, every day I want you to do one nice thing for somebody,
yeah,
whether it's someone at school or one of your siblings at home. And so I'm trying to instill that in him. And going on Jared, Reagan struggled a lot with Jared being gone a lot through the campaign. And
it's a big sacrifice for your
I
family.
told him, I was
It
like,
is.
your daddy loves everybody in this city where we live, in the community, and he's trying to take care of all of us. And that's just something that we have to let him do, and just know that he loves you, and he just wants everything around you to be a really good place.
That's so awesome. I see our mayor,
Mm-hmm.
Mayor Cheney, and watch his interaction with the citizens and the city, and how much effort he puts into being there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's so many things that are going on in the city, right? You know this as
Oh,
a
yeah.
politician, that you want to be at. So you're supporting the community,
Sure.
your voters, the whole thing. You're learning, you're helping to raise awareness. But it is time away from your family
It
at the
is.
same time.
And I'll tell you, there's a lot of guilt that goes on.
Right.
At least with me. I mean,
Sure.
there's a lot of guilt whenever, if I'm not there for bedtime or if I'm not there for something. And when I'm in Austin, the legislature meets for 5 months every other year. And, when I'm down there, what's going to be going on here at home. And, whenever we were having this discussion, we were trying to prayerfully decide what to do about running for office. A really close friend of mine said, what if John Adams would have said, I'm a little too busy? Or what if Thomas Jefferson would have said, I don't have time for that right now? And certainly I'm not comparing myself to those men, but if the good people that want good, that are approaching us from the right frame of mind with a servant's heart aren't going to get involved, then what are you left with?
Right.
And I think that's why we've got the situation that we have as a nation and as a state in some respects, is that you don't always have the best of the best serving in this capacity. And so that's the standard that I hope to keep. That's what I'm holding myself to. And that's what I hope the voters hold me to if we decide to run for re-election next time. I'm
Right.
signing up for 2 years,
We'll see how
and then
session
goes.
we'll see how
There
it
you
goes.
go.
But if they would have me back, that's the standard that we should hold
Right.
ourselves to.
So when you make a big decision like that, because this is not just about you.
Oh my gosh.
You have Leslie, you have your children, you have your folks, you have her folks, you have a
Yeah.
brother, you have sister.
A job.
You have a job.
Yeah.
There's a lot, and I'm imagining that state representative position doesn't pay all that great.
$600 a month.
There you go. $600.
Yep.
I didn't know it was that good.
I know.
Is there still a spot on that libertarian ballot? Maybe I'll. No,
You're rich.
just kidding. No, but so when you, how did that process look for you to make the decision? Because like I know when I wanted to start my own business, leave a corporate
Oh, yeah.
job,
Right.
these big decisions, you can't do that
Yeah.
in a isolation.
Well-
So who did you reach out to, or what was your
I have
strategy?
to say, it started years and years ago, quite frankly, because, I've always prayed for God's will to be done in my life, and whatever that is. And I think that God's given each of us a set of interests and a set of capabilities that we each have. I cannot imagine Leslie doing anything other than being a mom to our kids. I mean, that's just a huge job and a huge deal, and that's what I feel like God made her to be, is, such an outstanding mother to our kids. And, for me, with my interests and all that, so I've always, prayed for God's will to be done. So I think that's where it started, quite frankly. But when Pat Fallon decided to seek a seat in the Texas Senate, I just started meeting with people, not for me. I was saying, who are we going to get? I'm passionate about having conservative representation. And so who are we going to get? We talked to a few people, and all roads kept leading back to me all the while. I'm coming back to Leslie saying, they're wanting me to do this. Can you believe this? I can't, there's got to be somebody else.
So you worked on his campaign or something
No,
like that?
I was talking with community leaders trying to decide who we could get to run to replace Pat Fallon.
But how did you become associated with Pat Fallon? That you
Oh,
mentioned?
well, I just knew him through being involved in politics
Okay.
and being involved in the conservative movement. And
Got it.
I just knew of him. And then
this was his seat that he was
absolutely.
that,
And
he was moving on to another role.
Yes, sir.
Got it.
And so I'd been down to Austin and thanked him for his service and talked to him about
Got
a couple
it.
things. I went down to support some pro-Second Amendment legislation last session and thanked Pat for his service and all that. And, little did I know, as I was sitting in his office as he's sitting in his state rep chair and I'm sitting in front of him that
Be running for that
you know,
chair.
that would be me,
Right.
you know, before too
cool.
long. So kind of a neat deal. But
It
yeah,
is.
I mean, we had no idea. It really just kind of happened. But luckily, between the time that we actually made the decision and the time that we kicked off the campaign was only a few days. So we kind of weren't prepared with everything. Luckily, we had our design logo and our stuff from last time. But I mean, we didn't have hardly anything prepared.
Right. So for you, Leslie, what was that decision like?
So, you know, after the initial state rep run in Saxe, you know, he kind of took a step back, and we had 3 very young kids. And we moved to Frisco, and I could tell he was starting to, like, get a little interested and, you know, dipping his toe in the water. And he's like, I need some new suits. I'm like, oh, gosh.
Here we go.
Why do you need new suits? Because I knew what was coming.
Right.
I mean, we weren't in Frisco 37 minutes before he.
And you said you knew when you met him that this was
yes,
his
I did.
interest.
And when he asked me to marry him, he
Right.
went down on one knee and said, "Will you be my first lady?"
That's
Oh,
sweet.
I love
So
it.
yeah,
So you knew what
I knew
this relationship
and
would
I knew
be.
from the
Yeah,
get go what you know was
That's
going to
important.
be, and so
it's good.
when he got him some new suits and
It's a nice looking coach you got on there right now.
found
So,
this
yeah.
seat to run for, of course I support him.
Yeah, that's cool.
Of course I do.
Right.
So
That's
yeah.
awesome. Good for you.
I love how everything you say, Jared, is we.
Uh-huh.
I think that's such an important and critical part of your campaign. You know, I think a lot of times when you're running for something or even you're elected, people see the politics. They don't really take the time to see beneath that and see the person. From a family perspective, how important was family in your decision to run, and how important are they now?
Oh, it was everything. I mean, Leslie holds the veto chip. You know, I
Yes.
mean, I had to get her blessing first before I even went to my job and said, hey, I'm going to be off 5 months every other year,
Yes.
you know? So I had to get Leslie's approval before any of that. And she still holds that veto chip. I mean, we get through next session and, you know, things aren't working out and we're having, you know, issues with the kids or with each other or whatever. I mean, that's the most important. I mean, look, my number one job is, you know, to be her husband and then to be the dad to our kids. And so, that's what's most important for us. You know, I just believe that, you know, as someone involved in public service, that not only can I serve in that leadership role for our family, but I can also help serve in that leadership role for our community. And at the end of the day, I want my kids to grow up in the same prosperous and liberty-loving Texas that I grew up in. And I don't want that to go away. And you know, we can sit within our 4 walls of our home and we can do things as a family, and that's all well and good. But at the end of the day, I believe it's incumbent upon all of us to get out into whether it's the community or the church or, you know, doing what you guys are doing here with this, you know, radio station or whatever it is, and affecting the lives of other people in a positive manner. So, you know, if it doesn't happen to be the Texas legislature, maybe it'll be something through another avenue.
I like
That's
that.
really cool.
Yeah, and when you talk about that District 106, what define that for the people that are listening?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So if you're listening to this and you live in Frisco, in Denton County, Frisco, which is about 40% of the population right now, I believe, then you're in District 106. It also includes the Colony, Little Elm, and about a dozen other towns. It runs up along the eastern edge of Denton County and kind of hooks over and gets Sanger. It kind of looks like the state of Florida,
You're right.
with Sanger over in the Panhandle and then down
Interesting.
all the
And
way
is it-
down into Plano.
Is it right that it's about 170,000 residents, roughly 160, something like that?
So they draw the lines every 10 years. So after every census comes out. So in 2021, the legislative session in 2021 will actually redraw the lines. And I suspect that I'll lose some of those communities,
Okay.
unfortunately. But they tried to make it about 175, 180,000 people per district. But now, with all the growth that's gone on in Western Frisco, and then especially Prosper and Salina's not much now, but it will be very, very soon. All of those areas are growing. I mean, there's probably more than 200,000 people in the district right now today.
Nice.
And so Denton County and Collin County will actually, you know, Justin Holland serves in the state legislature for the Collin County side of Frisco.
Yes.
And his district actually looks kind of like a dumbbell because it's got Frisco and then it kind of winds up through Collin County and then it's got all of Rockwall County.
Okay.
So it's kind of a weird shaped district.
Getting back closer to Rowlett
Yes,
over
those
there.
are your
See, it
people.
all comes back.
That's
full
right.
circle.
But he
So-
may not have that district moving forward
could
after
change.
2021.
So it changes every 10 years? Is
Yes,
that
sir.
what it is? So So for your district that you're running for, and maybe specifically Frisco, I don't know. I mean, there's folks listening from all over the place, I suppose. But we're sitting in Frisco.
We
That's
are.
right. That's
My
right.
business is in Frisco.
By the
That's
grace
right.
of God.
That's right.
How do you see your position being able to impact, or what do you see as an impact that you can have positively
Sure.
on this area?
Well, know this. I'm going into the legislature as a freshman state rep. I'll probably spend a couple of months trying to figure out where the bathroom is.
Right.
There you go.
Down there, so as a freshman, as one of 150, I'm not going down there thinking I'm waving some big banner and going to
Yes.
change the world.
Good for you.
In one session. But there are a lot of things that I can positively affect. And at the end of the day, my goal is to get the government off your back and out of your pocket. One of the biggest things going on, and it really dramatically affects Frisco, is property tax reform.
Sure.
That's the number one issue on Governor Abbott's agenda for next session. Property taxes are way too high, and a lot of that has to do with how we fund our schools and school finance, and how both from the state level and the local level, it's kind of a mess, quite honestly. I mean,
Those are big issues to tackle.
yeah, I mean, and there probably aren't a handful of people in the state that can accurately tell you how school finance works.
Right.
And so I'm doing all that I can to study up on everything so that I can get down there, hitting the ground running, and so that we can come back with a solution to say, hey, we have made this change, which lowers your property taxes, but keeps our schools great. And
Right.
so that's what I hope to accomplish next session.
That's so
awesome.
important.
I did also read somewhere that you have a plank in your platform to abolish pollen.
That's correct.
And
That's right.
I don't know that much. I'm just a simple person. But I believe that if you can accomplish that goal, you could probably be president of the world.
Yes, I added that about a week over the past week because it has been a struggle.
Let's abolish pollen.
The struggle is real.
I love it.
Oh,
That's so
man.
funny. I think there's a lot of people listening, and you and I have talked about this. I mean, the election was so close. And I think that's your blessing. That's your opportunity. For those people that are listening that maybe didn't cast a vote for you, what do you want to say to those people?
Absolutely. I just say, give me a chance. I'm a pretty new guy here. We decided to move to Frisco in 2014, moved here in 2015. And, I think a lot of times people aren't so much against the other person. It's
Right.
like, hey, this is my friend. I've known them. We were in soccer together or whatever. And so I supported them. And it's not necessarily a negative about the other person. And I think that's the case for most people. Frisco was split. It was 51-49
Yes.
within the Denton County side of Frisco. So it is a 50-50 proposition here. And so I would just ask that folks give me a chance, that they would find out about me. As I was joking with someone the other day, I'm probably not as good as I said I was. I'm probably not as bad as the other side said I was.
There
I'm
you
probably
go.
somewhere in the middle.
Sure.
So I'm just looking to have conversations. I'm looking to find people that are passionate about certain issues, that they're knowledgeable about, so that they can educate me. I mean, there are literally more than 10,000 bills that will be filed next session, and we will pass more than 1,000 of them. And I'll be an expert on about 0.2% of those bills.
There you go.
And so I'm going to need help from folks here. How is this affecting you? If we've got this one issue, it's amazing the unintended consequences that can happen out of legislation. So I need that conversation. I need that help from folks here in Frisco to tell me, hey, this could negatively affect my business in this way.
I love that. And I know we're getting short on time, but the one thing I really want to convey before we have to let you go is, if people want to have those conversations, how do they contact you? Where do they find you?
Absolutely. Well, my cell phone number is 214-924-0333. I'm an open book. I may not always be able to answer at that moment, but I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. But my contact information is also on my website, jaredpatterson.net, and that's Jared like the jewelry store, Jared, Patterson.net. My contact information there is there. Where I stand on a lot of the issues are there. There's a lot of issues that are black and white for me. It's right or wrong. And then there's a lot of issues that there is a lot of gray area, and those are the ones that I'm going to need help with the most.
That's so cool. Well, it has been a real pleasure to meet both of you today.
Thanks for
I've never
having us.
had the chance to meet Jared and Leslie, and I know that Ashley and I really appreciate you taking time out of your day, arranging for childcare. Who's watching the kids?
His mother.
Thank you,
Shout
Mom.
out to Grandma.
Thank you,
Shout out
Mom.
to
Watching.
Gran.
And Jared, great job overcoming that tie back in high
you.
school.
Thank you. Thank
The
you.
suit looks great.
Thank
we
you.
wish you great success with your campaign.
Thank
and
you.
thanks for
Thank
being
you.
here. We'll see you next week on the Gather Hour.
Thank you.